When you're beginning your journey as a UGC content creator, there are going to be many learning curves along the way. One of them being understanding a bunch of UGC terms that are used by brands and marketing experts. There's a lot of jargon out there on the web, especially in the world of user-generated content. And in this video, I'm going to break down numerous terms commonly used in the UGC world and what they all mean. So you'll definitely want to grab a pen and paper, as well as subscribe and save this video into your favorites folder to come back and refer to. In case you're new here, I'm Sarah. I help content creators, brands, and entrepreneurs create their digital influence by sharing different creation tips, tech tools, and gadgets to help you create your influence and workflows with ease. Having said that, let's get into this video. There's a lot of terms I'm going to cover, so to keep things concise and easier to comprehend, I'm going to explain each term in alphabetical order. Starting with A, we have A/B testing. A/B testing is basically a method of comparing two variations of an ad, content, or any other material to determine which performs better. This is also commonly known as split testing. A/B testing involves changing one tiny element at a time to test the results while being posted or boosted by the brand at the same time. This could be anything from changing a graphic in an ad to starting with a different hook variation. When split testing like this, only a portion of the audience will see each variation. This is a term that you yourself as a UGC creator doesn't really need to know the technicalities of. However, it definitely helps to understand how a brand may use and test your video, so you also know how to upsell and offer them additional variations as an add-on. The next is aesthetic. An aesthetic is the overall look of your content, which is reflected in your style, colors, ways of editing, and overall vibe. Now, while you can work on your own aesthetic as a UGC creator, oftentimes you'll be creating content for the brand, which you'll want to try and match their aesthetic. Moving on to algorithm. The best way to explain the algorithm is as a set of instructions for solving a problem or accomplishing a task. When it comes to social media, an algorithm is how a social media platform determines which content to display at any given time to a particular user based on their user activity and other key pieces of information. This is a term good to know in general to understand how you are fed content by various social media outlets as well. Next, we have analytics. Now, analytics is an umbrella term used to describe both social analysis tools and the information those tools provide. Most social media platforms will have their own analytics tools to help brands analyze how well their posts or ads are doing. Key metrics often analyzed include reach, engagement, return on ad spend, and follower growth. And this is good to know, as when you're creating your UGC portfolio, you'll want to include analytics of your best performing posts, and if you can, also get analytics from the brand to see how you contributed to their campaign so that you can share this with other brands you work with down the road. The next A is angle. A UGC angle is an approach or direction you want to take a product. The angle could focus on an issue that potential customers are facing, or focus on a goal they wish to achieve and how the product can help with this. So for example, if you are a company selling sleep vitamins, your angle could be a new mom who is having trouble sleeping and wants to make the most of the little sleep that she is currently getting, or a student who is stressed out with exams and needs a way to calm their nervous system. Angles will be important based on the brand you're working with and who they are trying to target. Moving on to terms starting with B, there's only two that I could think of at the time of this video, the first one being brief. A brief is basically a document created by the brand, which is provided to the UGC creator to help them better understand the brand's clear context and idea outlines, deliverables, do's and don'ts, and other requirements of the collaboration or campaign. Now, this one is important to know so you can avoid having a reshoot or because a brief wasn't provided. So make sure you always have a brief. The next B is budget. A budget is how much money a brand has delegated to a specific project. This one is important to know as it's part of the reason that you are in business as a UGC creator. So when negotiating with brands, always ask what their budget is for that project. Moving right along to C, we've got a few in this one, so buckle up and write taking notes in the comments if you've made it this far. The first C is a new one, and that is ChatGPT. ChatGPT is a super powerful software that can help automate content creation, generate new ideas, and so much more. Now, the way it works is you type in a specific outline for what you want ChatGPT to create, and it'll produce an answer by pulling information from the internet. Now, by leveraging ChatGPT's AI capabilities, you can speed up the process of creating content for your videos. In full transparency, I personally am a little hesitant to use ChatGPT. I literally still write my YouTube scripts and UGC scripts by old-fashioned research and a Word document, but I felt the need to mention it if you're about that kind of technology. Content approval. Content approval is when a brand asks their team to approve your content before it's accepted by the brand. Now, brands usually work in different divisions and teams, but all need to approve before giving you the green light as a final approval. Now, this is a little time consuming as you'll be waiting to hear back from certain brands, and this is literally what I'm going through right now at the moment. However, it's good to know that not all brands need multiple approvals from multiple people. Next is contract. A UGC contract is an agreement between the brand and UGC creator that includes the campaign information. Now, while in the early stages of your UGC journey, you may be working on creator marketplaces, or you may not have a contract, and that's totally okay. You just simply want to start creating content. However, whenever possible, it's helpful to either have your own or ask the brand for a contract. Now, I have a link to a UGC specific contract, which I'll leave in the description below for you to check out. And while you can create a basic one of your own, this one was created by a lawyer that walks you step by step with everything you need to know. Again, I'll link that down below for you. Moving on to conversion. A conversion is when the user does what you want them to do. So this could be a social media conversion, which means a user completed an action with the brand that originated from social media, or a conversion where an ad inspired the consumer to click buy from that specific ad. Conversion is a term used more so on the brand side, however, it's still good to know what that means. Continuing off the last term, next is conversion rate. A conversion rate is a media metric that allows you to measure how well your social media efforts are working to achieve specific business goals. To get a conversion rate, you will divide the number of conversions by the number of visitors. This is your conversion rate. Now again, this is something that brands need to know more than a UGC creator, but it's always good to know what a brand is talking about. The next term to know is copy. Copy is simply another word for written content. This could mean the copy you'll be speaking in your videos or the copy on screen of the video. It's always easier and saves a lot of time when you've written the copy/script before shooting your content. The next term is a little bit nerdy. It's CPA, or cost per acquisition. A CPA is a marketing metric that indicates how much it costs to get a single customer down your sales funnel from the first touch point to conversion. Whenever a brand is running ads to a product, they are calculating how much it costs to acquire a customer. The lower the number, the better the ad is performing. Not something you really need to know again, however, when you know these terms, you come off as very educated to a brand. Next is CTA, or call to action. Now, this is the last sentence or phrase at the end of a UGC concept to remind the viewer to go shop now or give the next step. So for example, you need to check it out for yourself, or click the link to learn more. Lastly, for the C's is CTR, which is click-through rate. A click-through rate is the ratio of users who click on a specific link to the number of total users who view an advertisement. It's commonly used to measure the success of an online ad campaign. Brands will measure ad performance based on how many people click the video to learn more about them. Moving on to terms starting with D, first up we have dark posting. Similar to whitelisting or spark ads, which I'll talk about when we get to W, dark posting content is shared to your page and the brand is able to run the video as a paid ad. However, although it's posted to your profile, the brand is running the content on the back end and the post is hidden from your feed. So whenever you see an ad talking about a brand, but it's coming from a creator's page, yet it doesn't show up on the creator's feed, this is dark posting. So they're basically borrowing your social media handle to make their ad more authentic. Next in D is deliverables. Deliverables are the items that you are expected to produce as confirmed in the outreach and negotiation phase of a UGC project. So for example, the deliverables might be that you create 1 video and 3 images of a product. It's good to know what these deliverables are before agreeing to working with a brand. Next is disclosure. Disclosure is the action of making it known to your audience and consumer whether a brand has engaged you to produce content as an advertising or marketing initiative. So simply put, just be transparent. Many influencers will create posts or stories in which they put hashtag ad or hashtag name of the brand and partner. So for example, like hashtag Google partner. So every country has its own laws regarding disclosure, which you'll need to do your due diligence and research on. DRM. DRM stands for direct response marketing. This is basically when you make a video that has a hook, body, and a strong call to action. The brand you're working with then tracks exactly how many people took action after viewing your video. Closing out this section with D2C, also known as direct to consumer. D2C is a sales strategy where manufacturers and consumer packaged goods brands sell their products directly to their customers instead of selling them through retailers and wholesalers. Some brands that are considered D2C are Warby Parker, Casper, and Glossier. And as a UGC creator, it's good good to have an idea of which brands are D2C, as they usually tend to have a closer relationship with their consumers. The next term to know as a UGC creator is engagement. So engagement is basically any form of interaction that you get on social media. So this could induce things like likes, comments, and shares, which are all forms of engagement. Sometimes brands will want to know what your engagement is like. However, most often than not, this is a metric that is good to know and doesn't necessarily determine your UGC creator success. Following engagement is engagement rate. Engagement rate is a measure of how many people interact with your social media content. So the higher the percentage, the higher engagement is, which brands may sometimes or may not want to know. Moving on to evergreen content. Evergreen content is content that is designed to last for the long term. It's not tied to any specific event, promotion, or trend. It's a classic piece of content that is very universal. It can be used all year round. This could be content such as 5 benefits of a product, how to use a product, reviewing a product, or a testimonial. Lastly, an E is exclusivity. Exclusivity refers to the amount of time you are not allowed to work with competitors. So if you work with a toothpaste brand, for example, it'd be a little weird to work with another toothpaste brand 2 weeks from the first one, as it would kind of look like a conflict of interest. So this is why exclusivity or non-exclusivity exists in a contract. The best way to create for a brand is on a non-exclusive basis, as this frees you up to work with any brand you wish. However, if a brand is requesting that you be exclusive for them for, say, 6 months, that should be in the contract, and your pricing should also reflect that, because say an even bigger brand offering you a bigger project approaches you a week from the other project, you have locked yourself in from working with another brand that would have been offering you more money. It can be a large topic, which I'll save for another video, which talks specifically about usage rights. Next is hook. So your hook is the attention grabber that gets your audience invested in your video. Now, a UGC hook is used in the first few seconds in a video, and it's the most important part of your video to literally hook your viewer in to watch the video until the end. Now, there are so many hook variations in the world of UGC, which is why I've curated a list of 100 hooks and 10 call to actions in a low-cost guide for you, which I'll also link below in the description. This guide will be a great reference for you whenever you're scripting but just have no idea about where to start. Moving on to I, we have impressions. Now, impressions is a metric that counts how many times an ad or a promoted post is fetched from the server and displayed on a social platform. It is not a measure of how many people have seen the ad, which sometimes can be confused for that. This is a metric more so for the brands, but it's always just good to know. Next is inbound. Inbound is basically when a brand reaches out to you with an offer requesting to work with you. Inbounds can come through various formats, whether it's a DM on social media or email. It's always a good idea to keep an eye out for inbounds because it allows you to need to pitch less to brands. Next is KPI. So KPI, or Key Performance Indicator, is a quantifiable measure of performance over time for a specific objective. ROAS, CPM, CTR, CPA, and Thumbstop rate are all different sets of KPIs brands look at so that they can analyze how well your concepts are performing. Now, if you're looking for analytics to share in your UGC portfolio, it'd be worth asking for these KPIs for you to include. In the letter M, we have Media Kit. So Media Kit is a digital document used by UGC creators when reaching out to brands for collaboration opportunities. It's basically your UGC portfolio, but will also include your rates. A Media Kit may also include video or photo examples, statistics, packages, skills, and contact details. Now, I personally don't use a media kit for right now. I use my portfolio to showcase to brands and then follow up with my rate card if they're interested in working together. Next is N for native advertising. So native advertising is a type of social media ad that matches the style and format of an organic post. A boosted post is an example of native advertising. Ads are always identifiable by a label that says sponsored or promoted, but other than this, native ads look just like organic social content. You'll often see these kinds of ads in your suggested posts on Instagram, or even when scrolling on your For You page on TikTok. Another term you'll need to know is niche. Now, a niche is a small segment of the population that has unique and very specific characteristics, or when it comes to brands, it's basically a specific type of audience their product pertains to within a certain industry. For example, an overall niche can be skincare, but skincare for people with sensitive skin is a more defined niche. Next, moving on to O, we have organic content. Organic content is a type of content you'll see all over social media. So these kinds of videos have more of an aesthetic feel to them rather than trying to sell a product, and is used to build brand awareness. The brand only posts this content to their platforms rather than using them for paid advertising. However, this isn't to say that they can't turn these organic types of videos into paid ads if they wanted to. The next O is organic reach. Now, organic reach is the number of unique users who view your content without paid promotion. You can usually see these analytics in your Analytics tab in any of your social media platforms. This information is good to know, especially if you or the brand's big focus is growing organically. Lastly, for O is outbound. Outbound or outreach is when you reach out to the brand. In the letter P, I have 3 common terms that you'll benefit from knowing, and the first one being paid ad content. This is when the brand is putting money behind your content to run as a paid advertisement. The goal of paid social is to distribute and promote content to a targeted audience and in return convert these viewers into buyers. So next is payment terms. Payment terms basically means the amount of time it will take for you to get paid after the agency or brand receives your invoice. Net 30 means you'll be paid within 30 days of receipt of invoice, and net 60 means 60 days after. This should always be included in the contract. And again, if you need a contract template, I've linked a UGC specific contract in the description below for you to check out. The last P is perpetuity. Now, perpetuity is the release of content rights for an infinite amount of time in the future. So in other words, when the collaboration is over, the brand has indefinite rights to your content. Now, this should be included in the contract or an add-on if the brand later decides to use your content in such a way. Just know that if a brand wants to use your content in perpetuity, to charge accordingly for that. If you wish for me to make a full video about usage rights and what to charge as a UGC creator, type usage rights in the comments so I can add it to my video content list. Moving on to 4 terms that start with R. The first one is rate card/sheet. Now, a rate card is a price list of your services that you can present to brands so they know what you offer and how much you offer it for. You can include organic video rates, paid media rates, usage rates, and other add-ons. Now, if you want to see a video about the rate sheet and how to create one in Canva, type a rate sheet in the comments. Moving on, we have raw footage. Raw footage is the content you film without any editing, text overlays, video or photo overlays, or music. Usually raw footage clips can be a couple of minutes in length, and brands often like to have raw footage so that they can edit the final video how they see fit. Sometimes a brand will just want raw footage, and other times they'll want the edited video plus raw footage, so always make sure to charge accordingly for that. Next, we have reach. Reach is the total number of people who have been exposed to a social post or ad. Now, this metric does not necessarily indicate that all these people have actually seen your content. They could have scrolled right past it, for instance, but it gives brands a good idea of how far your content has reached in both organic and paid media instances. Next is ROAS, also known as return on ad spend. ROAS is the amount of revenue that is earned for every dollar spent on a campaign. And obviously a brand always wants to have a higher return on their ad spend, just like you in business, where you would like to get paid more than what you need to invest. Otherwise, you'd be out of business real quick. Moving on to S, you'll need to know the acronym SO, or scope of work. Now, the SO is a detailed outline of the work you and the brand have agreed upon. You should always have one of these prior to signing a contract or filming. Next is sponsored posts. Sponsored posts are those social media posts in which a UGC creator highlights a brand or product that they have been paid to promote, and most often than not, the video will include something like #ad, or underneath the profile handle, it'll say sponsored. In the T category, I have trending. So when a topic, sound, hashtag is trending, it is said to be popular on social media at a particular given moment. It's always good to know what is currently trending as a UGC creator, so you can use these as inspirations for your videos and pitches to brands. Target demographic. Target demographic is a specific group of people/consumers that are most likely going to want the product or service that you're promoting. It's always important to know who the brand's target demographic is, as it wouldn't be beneficial to promote a men's product, for example, to a female demographic. Moving on to Thumbstop rate. So Thumbstop rate is the percentage of people that viewed at least 3 seconds of your video. This can help a brand determine the efficiency of a hook used in a UGC video. So the better the percentage, the better the video is performing. URL shortener. A URL shortener is a tool that condenses a long URL into a shorter and more social media friendly format. You can use these when linking in your social media profiles, or sending links to brands to view, etc. And this just makes your links look more visually appealing. Next is usage rights. Usage rights is all about how your content will be used by the brand. So a standard usage right for a brand can be anywhere from 90 days, 6 months, or a year, and in some cases in perpetuity, like we talked about earlier in this video. These need to be discussed prior to filming your content. Another term is USP, or unique selling point. A unique selling point is the essence of what makes your product or service better than competitor brands. For brands, it's important for them to let UGC creators know what their unique selling point is, so that as a creator, you can incorporate that in your video. Moving on to V, and I have the term viral. So viral basically means when a particular post brings in an unusually large number of engagements. Engagement can include views, likes, and shares. Now I'm sure you've seen a lot of viral content before, but it was just worth mentioning. And closing out with W, I have two terms, the first being watch time. Watch time is the average time social media users watch your content before clicking off. Now, if your watch time is just 1 to 3 seconds, then it might mean that your hook is weak. And if people stay beyond the hook, however, drop off shortly after that, that might mean that you have to rehook the user once again. Ideally, you want a viewer to watch your video all the way to the end in order for you to know that your video did its job. And lastly is whitelisting / spark ads. Whitelisting is when you as the creator share the UGC content to your own social media platform and the brand runs the content as a paid ad through your profile. On TikTok, this is known as a spark ad. The difference between whitelisting and sponsored posts are very small on the front end, but when it comes to the back end, you're giving the brand permission to run the ad from your account when you whitelist, whereas a sponsored post doesn't usually grant that access. So there you go, all the major UGC terms you need to know as a UGC creator. I know this one was a long one, so if you need, go rewind this video and take it section by section so you don't overwhelm yourself. If you found this video useful, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and share it with a creator, brand, or entrepreneur with whom you think this would really help. And remember, all the links I mentioned will be in the description below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.